Hello friends, good morning. Welcome to Akulmach Live. My name is Chandrakant.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kanchan, and today we are discussing a very interesting topic, and this is regarding Akhand Bharat.
Well, Akhand Bharat has been in a lot of debate and it is being discussed furiously, not only by Indians but the global community. And why this whole discussion was started off, it is related to the inauguration of our parliament. Kanchan, don't you think, why we talk about Akhand Bharat in this 2023, 21st century? Why such a ancient subject being discussed once again? What is your opinion?
Well, actually, when we are discussing about Akhand Bharat, it is not only about India or Bharat. It is the cultural impact on the world regarding the civilization, which is the oldest civilization in the world. And impact, it goes far beyond Europe, Middle East. And so, and if you go towards south, it goes to Myanmar, Singapore. So all these impact of cultural impact, that is what makes this concept and this whole debate interesting. And I think everybody should know about what does actually Akhand Bharat means.
Absolutely, and we will actually discuss what it means to us in today's time and today's date, and how does it impact the business. So friends, stay tuned, and if you have any questions you can reach us live, because we are live right now. All right, so let's move on to the debate. This is the picture which started the whole debate. This is a mural which has been found in the gallery section of the parliament building, new parliament building of India, which is the largest parliament anywhere in the world, housing highest number of member of parliament anywhere in any country in the world. So one of the gallery has this picture, and it has many other pictures of. It's basically a mural, so it has historic architectural imitations, as also the image of India, and it is shown as Akhand Bharat. Now the meaning of Akhand Bharat is it's a complete India. Bharat actually is India. So the complete Bharat, and it was in the antiquity. Kanchan, do you feel proud when you see this kind of a mural in Parliament?
Definitely, because that in this process, by watching the picture of Akhand Bharat, I am very proud, because that recalls, that give me a pleasure when our whole India was so powerful. Because if we go forward, there are many kings and queens who contributed in making India, or Bharat as we say, as a Akhand Bharat, and we now call it India, but there are many names of India, like Jambu Deepe, we have Aryavrat, we have Hindustan, and of course Bharat. And every word has a different story associated with these words. And somewhere I have read that the first king of Akhand Bharat was Samudragupta Maurya. He was considered as the first group, but the current picture which is visible and which is there in the parliament, that is the last reign of Ashoka, and that is the impact we have in our constitution, on our emblems and other nationalistic symbol.
Yeah, so basically today we will discuss about why Akhand Bharat is important for India and also for the world. And we will not discuss anything to do with religion or nationalism, none of those things. We will simply explain what is the real meaning of Akhand Bharat. So and this is a debate which has been waited for quite some time. We announced about this particular debate almost 10 days back. And so thank you for your participation, folks. So what is Akhand Bharat? Let us understand. Well, Akhand Bharat is the name of a civilization. I think I will put it simply in a way where we understand a civilization. So when India is a civilization similar to Egyptian civilization, Sumerian, Chinese, and some of these European civilizations. So if there is Mayan civilization, Incas, it does not mean that it is one country. It is a civilization. That means people who are living as part of that civilization have very similar cultures and stuff like that. So when we talk about Akhand Bharat, we are not talking about India as a country. I think the government, when they decided to put this mural, is basically to represent this subcontinent. And India, being the largest democracy, plays a major role. And therefore, India is an important part of the Akhand Bharat civilization. What do you think, Kanchan, about this subject?
Well, definitely, because we are talking about the oldest civilization of the world, and when there is a transition in terms of cultural, traditional, and this take the religion to different places, and the impact, you can see a very profound impact on Indonesia when we talking about Akhand Bharat, because even today it's a Muslim majority country, but in spite of this they have their own festivals. They do Ramayana play and once at least, and it's quite a popular play. Whenever you go, you will find these kind of traditional culture which is directly associated with India. They think that they have come from India, from Bharat. So that is something which, because that is kind of interaction, and that is kind of cultural impact which is being done of the Indian civilization to rest of the world.
Absolutely. So I think the first confusion that has been created by the politics of this discussion is that we are thinking that India is going to expand and they want to basically become like China. India will become expansionist and so on. So I think that is the first clarification we want to bring, and based on our understanding, I think this is the way, as a common citizen of India, I understand it. We are not going to break into other countries. We don't want to basically expand and acquire other regions, because I don't think that is the idea. Idea is to talk about the civilization, and therefore Akhand Bharat is being projected as a civilization, similar to what Egyptians, Egyptian civilization has impact on neighboring areas like Syria, Israel. There is so much, even on the Christian territory and also Arabic, there is so much of influence of the Egyptian civilization. Even though the religion has nothing to do with the way of life of the civilization. So similarly, Akhand Bharat is a civilization. So that is one point that we want to clarify in our debate. If you agree, kindly send in your comment, and if you have any other comment, you agree, disagree, we can have a debate right now, and since we are live, we can accept your questions on this subject. So moving on, there are several civilizations. For example, there is a Mayan civilization in America. Even today, the modern Americans are affected by Mayan civilization. Mayan civilization has come and gone and become extinct. The Mayan civilization does not exist, but the influence left behind Mayan civilization is immense. Even today, in the modern era, the American subcontinent feels the impact of this civilization. So now we have to distinguish between civilization and country. Kanchan, do you think this is what we should be talking about?
I will be putting forward a very live example. That our Mata Sita belongs to Nepal. She was married to Ram at Ayodhya. And even if you go far little Vietnam, there the families and the people, they still consider that they belong to the clan of Ma Sita. So that is one thing, because this is not a religious thing which we are talking, which is the connection which is still people think. One more incident which is quite prevalent, because why Akhand Bharat was divided into pieces due to British rule. They ruled us, and systematically they divided the land portion, and just to make administration work finally for them. So that is how the Akhand Bharat was disintegrated. And one more thing I just want to convey to my audience, in case if you have any point or you want to have discussion on the Maximular philosophy, where he says that Aryans has come from Middle East to India. But if we see and read the history carefully, there are people who migrated from India to European countries, to Middle East, due to the war. This is 10 King War, which happened way in antiquity, and that was the region why it is even Max Muller also said that the philosophy which is being compelled by Britishers to provide to Indians, that Aryan has come from Middle East to India, but it is other way round. So these, and when people migrate, as I was telling you, when they migrate, they take their tradition and culture and the name of that place along with that, and that create a stir, and that is contributed to the Akhand Bharat.
Well, absolutely. Even the Egyptian symbols, triangle, and some of the symbols are part of the national heritage of the United States of America. If you see their obelisk, they still follow those, influence that they feel. I mean, the civilization of Egypt vanished almost 2000 years back, even before it predates the Roman civilization. So Roman civilization effects are felt even today. However, I would like to talk about some of the points that you made. Well, civilization is a similar way of life. It does not mean that ethnicity is also defined by civilization. It does not mean that Akhand Bharat will have only single ethnicity, that only certain kind of people will exist. So a civilization may exist, Akhand Bharat will have multiple ethnicity, and that is where the distinction of countries comes in. And you've also mentioned about India being divided by British for better administration. It was not Akhand Bharat. When British arrived, there were several states within the Akhand Bharat, similar to what we have today. We have in the modern India, we have multiple states, and each state has their own language, own regulation, own government. So similar to that, there was a era when British arrived, there were different kings. So you can consider Akhand Bharat divided between states ruled by different kings. So when British arrived, they found it's such a big land mass. It's a huge land mass and lot of mountains, rivers. It was difficult, and the technology was limited. So they actually created different administration hub, reporting into central locations for better administration. So today, one way of looking at it is that British divided Akhand Bharat into seven countries. That is one way of many people are doing this kind of conversation, that the Akhand Bharat, first Afghanistan was taken out from Akhand Bharat, then Tibet was taken out, then Nepal was taken out, Sri Lanka, and finally Pakistan and Bangladesh. But look at in a totally different way. They were not, so they were part of Akhand Bharat, but they were already different states. So even today we have different states in India. So that is why we have to not look at Akhand Bharat as something which India is going to do in future and stuff like that. It is basically a civilizational thing. That is what we want to talk about today. So let's move on to the next example. I would like to talk about, let's look at Europe. So within the European civilization, there are several countries. So if you compare Akhand Bharat with Europe, which is very similar in size, and there are multiple countries. Now in India, we have, as India is a large country, we have multiple states. Each state probably is the size of the single country in Europe. So let's take example of France and Spain. Now, French country as such, they are totally different people. They have totally different culture, even though they have the same religion. Spanish people as well as the French people have the similar religious beliefs, but their cultures are totally different. They speak different language. They don't eat the same food. They live in a different lifestyle. They follow different traditions and culture. And you can see, the map is in front of you. These are just a stone throw away. So what do you think would have happened here, Kanchan? Why Spain and France are totally different cultures, And similarly, Germany is a totally different culture, which is just nearby. So, how these different countries evolved within the civilization? You have any opinion on this?
Actually, the main kind of reason is that there is a physical boundary which are dividing these landmass, and that makes civilization to grow within their limits. And that is why, though their religion is same, as part of culture is also same, but in spite of this, they have evolved in a different way. For example, Spain and Portuguese. Portugal and Spain has a different kind of mindset, cultural tradition, though they follow the same religion. Same goes with the Germany also, because this is a place which is surrounded by other countries, and of course there is a political instances also happened when we are talking about Germany, and that created stir and make them entirely different approach towards the world, and approach which also can be dominating after some time. It created that kind of start, and the impact is being done by the German civilization, and everybody knows about that very well.
Absolutely, and they speak different language. Not a single word is common, you know. So even though they are similar people, European civilization, but they are separate countries. So similarly in India, we have these states speaking different languages. So when we say Akhand Bharat, we are different ethnicity, but yet united into one civilization. So we have one viewer, Rajendra Singh, saying good morning. Good morning, Rajendra Singh. Welcome. If you have any opinion, any suggestions, any questions, feel free to ask about this subject. All right. So I think we have established that Akhand Bharat is not a country. It is a collection of countries, and it is part of the civilization. So for example, if you travel into Nepal, you will not see too much of difference, you know, even though they speak different language, and some of these languages we may not understand. Similarly, if you go to any other, even within India, if you go to South India, if you're a North Indian, go to South India, you will not understand their language, but you will see a lot of similarity, because we are all part of the same civilization. Similarly, somebody coming from Northeast to western part of India, they will see a different culture, but they will still feel the same as part of one civilization. All right, let's move to the next item that we want to talk about, is this mural. This Akhand Bharat debate raged on for many days, still raging on. There are objections being raised by neighboring countries. The foreign departments of these neighboring countries are raising objections to putting this mural in our new parliament, in Indian parliament. They are saying that no, we are independent country. Why you're including Nepal and all these countries into Akhand Bharat? So I think this is something that we want to clarify. So Kanchan, I think you have something to say about this.
Well, the representation is the period of Ashoka Empire. When we're talking about Ashoka Empire, the impact of Ashoka Empire was not only limited to India, but as a huge impact on neighboring countries, especially Thailand, in Malaysia, Sri Lanka. So, basically, this is being impact is being done by the propagation of Buddhist religion, and the kind of map which is being placed in parliament, that depicts the era of Ashoka, and that is being considered as the Akhand Bharat. So I think there's nothing to worry about it, because Ashoka is playing a vital role in our politics, in our national symbols, and we look forward towards Ashoka and the kind of powerful king he was, and he combined and he ruled this whole India in one go, and that is a kind of antiquity, respect for Ashoka, and we also feel proud to be associated with the great king of the world, who is Ashoka.
Absolutely. In fact, if you look at India, if you are an Indian and watching this program, you know that our national symbols are the chakra and the roaring lion, which we call Teen Murti. and these are all taken from the Ashokan Empire. And why we have taken Ashoka? Because Ashoka was the one of the last known empire for Indian. So when the Indian country was formed in 1947, the Constitution of India adopted the many teachings of Ashoka as a ruler. Most of the the governance was taken from that era, and also the national symbol, which is chakra. So all of these symbols are taken from Ashoka. So government of India has already clarified to neighboring countries that no, we are talking about Akhand Bharat as a civilization. We are not talking about that we are trying to breach into your sovereignty, etc., etc. This is a picture of the original India or original Bharat at it existed. It does not mean Ashoka was the only person even at that point in time. There were Kalinga, there were Cholas, they were all part of the Akhand Bharat, but they existed as a separate states. Within, if you read Ashoka history also, you will find that he had divided his kingdom into multiple small chunks for better governance. So this is a misnomer that Akhand Bharat is one large country which is going to expand, just like China is trying to expand into other countries, and they are having border disputes with all neighboring countries. So we will come to Chinese angle as well, because that is very relevant. So let's move on to the next subject. I think important thing is to understand that Akhand Bharat is a civilization, not a country. I think that is the important part. And since we are living in the 21st century, and we are trying to establish ourselves in the leadership position, as you know, India is now a bigger economy than UK. Very soon we have to look at which is the next target. I think the next target is Germany. So if we continue our path as India in the growth sector, then we will overcome the Germany economy. And then the largest economy today is China, America. India will have to then cross France to become the third one. So it's a long way, but I think that is where it is going. So we have to look at that aspect also. And the competition therefore is with China, because China is the number 2 economy today, or number 1. There is a lot of debate between America and China. But let's say Chinese is the next door neighbor. They have started their influence, because Chinese civilization is also very large, ancient civilization still existing, just like Indian civilization or Akhand Bharat's civilization. So they started their increasing their global influence by building roads and reinventing the lost silk routes, and they have already captured a lot of ground. They have already become the leader in the global supply chain. So things like that. So I think there is a competition going on between India and China. So at this point in time, we have to talk about Akhand Bharat, because we have to talk about the influence that the Indian civilization has to offer to the rest of the world. Don't you think, Kanchan, about it?
Definitely, because China has emerged in a quite a bright way, and moreover, if we see on the parameters of civilization, Chinese also come from a very strong civilization. There are many instances, there are many good connection between India and China. But in modern times, things are working towards China, because as you mentioned, they are reviving the Silk Route, which are really very prominent when we talk about trade and commerce from the antiquity. Even today they are very relevant, and there is little tussle which is going on to take the places, 1 or 2 kind of place for India and China.
Absolutely. So there is a major competition. I mean, if you look at Indian businesses today, the competition is China. It is not the America, it is not the Europe, because India is building everything today,
Right.
From rockets to small things. There is a huge manufacturing hub, and there is also a big consumer market. So that is a clear distinction between India and China. China is a big a big hub for manufacturing, no doubt about it, because they realize this dream what we are living today in the 90s. They opened up their market in the 90s, so they had a head start. Our government was not very prudent at that point in time, but the current government is very prudent, and that is why they're talking about Akhand Bharat. Now, it's a political statement. It is not a realistic statement. It's a political statement. The politics of the Akhand Bharat is not internal. It is basically global. So that is one thing that I will like to clarify, that the competition is China. We want to basically play a role in global supply chain. We have very great minds. Our youngsters, our youth are great. We know English. We are a democracy, vibrant democracy. We have freedom, and so we can actually utilize some of these points in order to compete with China, because without competition there is no life. If we sit in one corner, okay, why we should do that? Let's eat our 2-quarter meal. That's it. That is not the way the global economy works. And India, with 20% or 17% population of the world, and different from China, because China is controlled by few people, whereas in India it's a vibrant democracy, is directly affecting the world. So if world is in recession, India has to take a lead to bring the world out of the recession. And that is why Akhand Bharat in today's context is a political statement. It's nothing realistic about it, but it is nothing but talking about the influence of the Indian civilization. Just like Chinese are building their Silk Road, the Indian is talking about Akhand Bharat, so that the past influence or the current influence can be capitalized. What is your opinion on this, Kanchan?
Well, you have rightly mentioned, and I think the concept of Akhand Bharat is quite relevant in today's modern world, because there are two reasons. First, everybody should talk about Akhand Bharat, because Akhand Bharat is the name of a civilization, the impact of the civilization, and every youth should be proud that this is a civilization we are coming from. And secondly, definitely there is as you mentioned, the Silk Route, which is kind of associated with China, and they are reviving. Same way, that gives a political mileage. At the same time, it also gives a mileage to each and every individual who is living in India or outside India, to feel proud about it, that we have come from that civilization, which is, I think, will be ruled maybe half of the area of Southeast Asia and above to Europe and even to Iran. And I've read that when there was a migration of people from India to Middle East earlier, that I don't know how far it is correct, it was called Aryans actually, and by the period it converted into Iran. So actual word is Iran. So the whole point is telling you that this is a interaction of people, intermingling of people with one civilization, how, and the impact you can see very far and very wide.
Absolutely. In fact, the next picture will clarify all of that, and this shows the true influence of Akhand Bharat, right from Europe to the Southeast Asia. And today, if you look at the influence of India on rest of the world, if you go to countries like Afghanistan and Iran, you will not find too much difference. People from Iran and Afghanistan come to India and they do their education. Many people settle down also here. They can easily do that. The language is not so different. Even though Persian civilization is also is like a sub civilization between the Akhand Bharat. Also, if you go to Southeast Asia, which is Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, and Cambodia, Vietnam. Many of these places, the descendants of Indians are living today in millions. If you look at that number also, following certain Indian traditions, they are living in those countries. They are born and brought up, many generations in those countries. And as a result, some of these Indian languages are official languages in these countries. So if you speak the same language in India, if you're native of that portion of India and you migrate to countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, etc., Southeast Asian countries, you will not see any difference because you will see your people, you will, you have the familiar names, you will have the same language and also the food. So you cannot say that India is a country which is divided in this, international border boundary.
Yeah.
The influence is much, much bigger. And that is exactly what the government is trying to do in order to promote the global business. Basically, the Akhand Bharat is nothing but, reviving the influence of Indian civilization or Indianness on the global business.
Yeah.
And that is how I understand it. Kanchan, what is your last comment on this subject?
Well, definitely, because this is a concept which is profound, which everybody should be cherished. That we, as I already mentioned, and yes, this is kind of capitalizing on the concept and on this concept and taking as Prime Minister already said that sabka saath sabka vikas. So I think this is the extension of that whole concept, and we as Indians always have a concept of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, and so Akhand Bharat really fit in very well in these kind of Indian concept. And even nowadays, even many people from the world, they also follow and they also appreciate these kind of concepts, and they are willing to gel with that.
Absolutely. So, folks, we have come to the end and we have actually tried to explain the real meaning behind Akhand Bharat. If you have any questions on the subject, any comment, feel free to engage with us. So, thank you, Kanchan, for joining me today to explain.
Thanks so much. It was so wonderful to talk about Akhand Bharat. I really enjoyed this. I hope our audience will feel to write something and express their opinion on that.
Absolutely. So, thank you so much, friends, and we will join in the next one. And you have a good day. And think, there are opportunities arising because of Akhand Bharat. So with this note, let's say goodbye for now, only to catch you again very soon.
Bye-bye.